Hey guys, it's Tyson and Jeffrey joining you for another Six Pack Dad Tribe podcast episode. And tonight, what we wanted to talk about is why you're not succeeding with lasting fat loss transformation. So we're going to hit probably 6 or 7 little bullet points, and the luxury we have is a good 60 active clients or so that our team is coaching, most of which are on a one-on-one basis. And so we see a lot of different habits and what they've shared in the past, things that haven't worked, and we figured this would be a helpful topic, especially for those who aren't in the tribe. And so Jeffrey, as an introduction, has been one of our more successful clients of all time. So successful, I brought him on as a tribe coach because of his mindset around this, his consistency, his knowledge. So Jeffrey, thanks for hopping in as always tonight and helping out.
No, I think this is an important podcast. We talked about what we were going to talk about earlier, how we were going to bring up some points. And this is a very important 30 minutes for people to listen to, I think.
Yeah, you're right. So let's get started and maybe talk about one of our guiding principles is we do not believe in fad diets. And a lot of our clients do not achieve successful long-term fat loss transformation because of this one principle. And what this kind of comes back to is what I would call impatience, where it's almost like we get desperate with our weight loss. And so we join a program because we realized, we picked up 19 pounds due to COVID-19, working from home. And it's like we're all of a sudden desperate to see that weight go. And so we give up the sugar, we give up the carbs, we take injections, we go 500 calories, and the weight comes off. But we have no plan to keep it off long term. And a lot of our listeners this history has repeated itself. They've lost the same 400 pounds over and over again, which is really unfortunate and probably exhausting and frustrating. And a lot of this just comes back to, in my opinion, what's in the market these days with different fads. What are your thoughts around that topic?
What I think I've witnessed, particularly even with some of our clients in the past, is weight loss becomes an event-oriented activity, meaning something's going to happen in 60 days, 90 days, 4 months. I got a wedding I got to go to. I got a reunion I got to go to. My wife's birthday's in the fall and I want to be in better shape, for photos, or a family photo shoot is coming up. So they're driven because of a particular event, an event out on the horizon there that they're driven towards. So where you talk about the fad diets and the things that people do to, lose that weight quickly, obviously you and I know they lose it, but they're skinny fat. This isn't a transformative, activity for them. They're simply focusing on a goal. And that's why they fail long term, because they might achieve it short term for whatever they're trying to, work towards. But after that, it's like they've had their belt tightened so tight. And as soon as the event's over, they let that belt go so they can breathe. And then they're back to their habits, because all of those things you mentioned are restrictive. They're not the sustaining lifestyle changing programs. They're restrictive diet plans in order to achieve a specific goal in the future, not transform your lifestyle long term. And we all know, when people think of restrictive, they think of it's negative. I can't have. I'm focusing on what I can't have to achieve this goal. And then in their mind, it's like, as soon as this goal's over, I can have. We all know if you restrict yourself too long from the things that you like, you will eventually go back and have them. And generally you have them in abundance. It's not just like, I'm going to go have a tiny little bag of M&Ms, a single serve bag of M&Ms. I'm eating the family style bag of M&Ms because I haven't had M&Ms in 4 months. Or I've gone off of soda. So I'm going to grab a Mountain Dew, but I'm going to drink, 88 ounces of Mountain Dew. because I haven't had it so long. It's almost like they're going into this gluttonous coma because they've restricted themselves so much. And I think that's why people fail long term. You can find a lot of people that are successful very short term. Everybody out there can lose 5 pounds in a week. I mean, you can do it in 7 days. Everybody can lose 5 pounds if they put their mind to it and restrict everything they need to do and move a little bit. You lose 5 pounds. But do you keep the 5 pounds off? That's the key. Next week, probably not. You probably 2 of those pounds are back on next week. And if you're not continuing to be restrictive, 2 more of those pounds come back on the next week. And then you're frustrated, like you talked about.
You're so right. And actually, I think that leads into almost a sister problem. And it's maybe the topic of what we'd call eating on the go, or sticking to something around the clock. So, Jeffrey, we deal with a lot of clients who they get sick or they get injured, and that can be discouraging. And so we have to chat with them to avoid all or nothing thinking and staying on track. And what can you do in spite of this injury? But even a bigger problem, though, is I have a corporate event coming up, and I'm going to be in, say, Dallas for a week, or we're going to Hawaii as a family, and there's just no way that I can stick with my plan. And this, from what we see, tends to stop a lot of people in building a sustainable lifestyle. One of your best analogies ever is the locomotive. And we develop all of this inertia. We lose those 5 or those 10 pounds. We're making progress. We've changed habits, which requires a lot of mental energy. And then we undo all of that inertia by saying, I'm on vacation, or I'm on a corporate trip, or I'm eating out at this restaurant, and I just can't make healthy choices. And the weight comes back on, and we have to start all over again. And this is one of those mindset things, in my opinion, that's one of the most important lessons we're trying to teach people in the tribe, is that is false thinking. And if you really want to build a lean, fit, healthy lifestyle year round, we have to think about our problem differently. And it involves being consistent, even when we're at the restaurant. How do we still make good choices? Or, if we're up in the mountains, and it's one of, you and I actually just had a client this week. We'll keep him anonymous, but one of the most fulfilling things I ever hear is when a client says, I'm going, he went up to for a religious purpose for a little baby, right? Baby blessing. And he had been intentional about hotel stays. He had prepped a little bit with healthy snacks, and he planned to win in spite of a week-long vacation. And sure enough. So yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts around that topic of vacations, corporate travel, all that stuff?
I've had, several dozen clients come through my stable over here that have signed up and I've worked with. And as of late, I used to be, in the beginning, I tried to be the nice coach, and then recently I got to thinking about, I kept hearing, I can't control, whether it was the family dinner that was happening on Sundays, the birthday party he had to go to, the barbecue that they were attending, for a family reunion, the corporate travel buffet, I have breakfast meetings. I can't control the food. You can't control what you can't control. That food is out there. But what you can control is what you put in your mouth. You can make those good choices. And so educating the guys on what is the best, you always talk about good, better, best. There's good choices you can make based on what's in front of you. There's better choices. And maybe the best choice doesn't exist in that scenario, but what can you do? You go for protein, you go for green vegetables, that kind of stuff. Worst case scenario, fill your plate up with that stuff. You have one helping of things. You don't have two. Your wife's made fried chicken, or somebody's brought fried chicken. You have one helping of that. You don't eat a whole fried chicken at the barbecue. That's why you're in the program, because you ate the whole fried chicken. in times past repeatedly. And so that's the thinking we have to change. I like it. Yeah. And that's why this is a lifestyle. We don't want to talk about what you can't have. What you can't have is temporary in the beginning of the program. There's no bad foods out there. We want to teach you to build that lifestyle with the foods that you like to eat so that it's sustainable. You won't sustain it if you have to eat boiled potatoes and asparagus the rest of your life to maintain your weight. Nobody would do that. It's a fail. So focus on what we can have and teaching them as we go. As we're restrictive in the beginning, as you know, with calories and macros and sodium, we slowly build that back up as they reach their goal and allow things back into their lifestyle and figure out where's that tipping point. What foods, and along this way, there's an education process of what kind of foods affect your body the most. Is rice and potatoes, do you have a negative reaction to that where you get bloated or gassy or whatever, and that affects your weight and clothes fitting and stuff? We discover some of those little things along the way and eliminate them, and teach you how to make better choices of the food that you pick. Everything's controllable. Every corporate event, every corporate breakfast, every vacation, the food is controllable. And that's what we try to teach them.
Yeah, and I think, someone would maybe join what we do or what another program does for initial weight loss, but at a more meaningful level, what they're trying, you use the word control. What they really want is to take back control of their life and to feel disciplined again. And they know that if they show up and become the best physical version of themselves through discipline, habits, control, that'll probably show up on the work front and with their family and their marriages. They'll bring a better version of themselves to those things too. So,
and the tribe, not only have we created a program, but we've created a community. So there's a community of guys that have met and asked questions and connect through the tribe, even outside of our coaching, so that they're sharing ideas and asking questions and, in a certain respect, holding each other accountable. So a lot of these guys live in close proximity to each other, so they can see each other in person if they chose to. Well, nobody wants to go hang out with tribe guys if you've backslid your 50 pounds. So there's a certain amount of inherent accountability that happens within the community. So it's building that sustainable lifestyle. We talk about pounds because that's the initial goal, is losing. I want to lose 50 pounds. I want to lose, 75 pounds. And so that's the goal that we try to get them to. But in reality, we want to teach them to build the habits that are going to allow them to reach the goal. The heck with the actual pounds. If you can be lean and confident and your clothes fit and you feel good about how you look, it doesn't matter what the weight on the scale actually says. But it's important you've built the habits to maintain what you've achieved.
Yeah. I would say at least 50% of people who apply to work with us on the application, when it says like, what's your goal? They would love, like, their dream outcome would be 10% body fat. And at least half these guys, they don't really care what they weigh at the end of the day, because they know that's not a true unit of measurement.
Right.
They know, hey, I could weigh 190 again, but using your words, still be skinny fat.
Yeah.
If I'm 10% body fat though, like, dang, that means something. That's
well,
excellent.
you look at two 50-year-old guys, both of them weigh 185 pounds, but one guy has 30% body fat and the other guy's at 10% body fat, but the scale reads the same. Which one's going to look better and healthier? The guy with the less body fat. It's not about the weight. The number is that's just gravity. That's just science, pulling you down into the earth. I mean, step onto the moon, you only weigh 16 pounds. So weight is irrelevant in the big scheme of things. I was talking to a guy today, going through the military, and he struggled through basic training because he was a bodybuilder, and very lean and muscular, but his BMI indicates he was obese. So based on that, the military put him on what he called it a fat boy program, which means he had to run double what everybody else had to run to try to get his BMI down under what the military considered whatever their standard was, regardless of body fat. And he's an older guy now, my age. So this was 30 some odd years ago that he went through that. But the weight is irrelevant at some point. It's a barometer for us in the beginning to show you that you're making progress.
Yeah, that's fantastic. We're going to come back to, you mentioned the words community, coaching, accountability. We'll dissect those a little bit more, but I want to talk for a second about another reason why people might not be building a long-term lifestyle and in getting this fat off long-term. And it's what I would call long workouts or excruciating workouts. And what I found interesting here, Jeffrey, me and Andrew as tribe coaches, we did a 2-hour workshop for a large group just a few months ago. It was really fun. And I surveyed everyone, and the number one thing everyone wanted a bunch of training and coaching from us on was advanced tips around workouts for fat loss, body sculpting, and muscle growth. And so that topic of workouts gets a tremendous amount of attention here. And there's nothing wrong with that. It certainly has its place. It accelerates fat loss. It definitely serves a purpose. But so many people give a lot of emphasis in the gym, but they're undoing all that work with bad nutrition.
Yes.
Right. And so we tell people all the time, hey, 80% of this equation is nutrition. So you can work out an hour a day if you want, knock yourself out. Times tends to be the scarcest resource for our audience because we work almost exclusively with working professional dads.
Yeah.
And they're walking a careful balance of career, then family, then faith, and maybe a little bit of workout. So we believe as a general template in brief, efficient workouts, because consistency tends to win there than the most sexy advanced workout program, and the nutrition matters more anyway.
Right.
But so anyway, my point on this one to teach the audience is if you find yourself focusing all of your mental energy around workout creation, it's possible you're just focusing on the wrong thing, and it's your nutrition that's wrong, whether it's a calorie deficit or the food choices, whatever it is. So what are your thoughts?
Well, if you go back to, when we're 22, 23 years old, our metabolism, our levels of testosterone, our energy back then tended to trump our bad eating habits. So we didn't notice it as much. If you were in the gym a lot, you ate a lot, regardless of what you ate, you just piled on calories. At least I did. I didn't pay attention to that strict nutrition, but I was able to work it off because I was, my body was responding to the things that I was doing. When we're 40 and 50 years old, it's different than that. Science, and our biology catches up to us. And so the bad nutrition trumps the hard workouts that you're doing. No matter how hard you're working out, the nutrition destroys everything in almost in an instant. You can have a bad meal here and there, but a bad week of food reverses an awful lot of what you've done. And I think a lot of guys just don't understand that. It's taken a long time for them to get out of shape. Even guys that were in very good shape years ago, it's taken a long time, and patience and nutrition are the two key elements that get you out of that hole.
Yeah. Yep.
And you have to have the patience. You have to have the patience, because it wasn't just, I use this analogy. It wasn't the cookie last night that added, 40 pounds of fat to your body. It was the cookies every night for the last 12 years that added, and you can't undo that in 90 days. So whether there's a wedding, reunion, birthday, barbecue, whatever's coming up, it's not going to be fixed in 90 days. You can make progress, and you can have a plan in place, but it's going to take you a year. to really be back where you want to be. And that's the part of educating these guys. This isn't, we can get this started for you. We can make a lot of progress in 12 weeks, but if you don't build the sustainability, it's not going to work.
Quick tangent. I hadn't planned on us addressing this, but for our listeners who are thinking about some kind of a weight loss program, you bring up an excellent point, Jeffrey. Most programs on the market, even expensive coaching programs, are 8 or 12-week programs. And a great question to ask whoever it is you choose to work with is, what's your plan after that time period, right? Because me being down 20 or 30 pounds in 12 weeks, that'd be fantastic as a step one. But then how do I keep that off? And what's in place? For that reason, we embrace a 12 months process, because using what you said earlier, anyway, anyone can lose weight short term, but dropping the body fat and achieving a level of physical excellence, athletic, fit, healthy, muscular, and having rock solid habits tends to take time. Just as it took time to put that fat on.
Yeah. Because the fat is so gradual, you don't notice it until one day your pants don't button. And you're like, okay, that was gradual, but now they don't button. So tomorrow they're still not going to button unless you start making a plan. And again, you can eat grapes and drink water for 10 days and lose 5 or 7 pounds, but that's not sustainable. You'll be back to your habits again. And if you don't learn how to build meal plans around the sustainable food, the stuff you like, but also moderation, portion sizes, and calories still play a part of it in your macros. That's the lifestyle. You're not always tracking things, but visually, this is a macro friendly meal that I just put on my plate. That's what you learn.
Let's talk for a second about coaching, because you bringing up macros and calories. A lot of our audience is tired of trying to do things on their own, and they failed so many times, not really of any fault of their own, but just they get stuck. They have no real guidance or support. And they feel perhaps that their life is different than maybe a guy who's 20, who is a full-time personal trainer or nutritionist. And so just the value of coaching. You were the first coach that I brought on. Then we brought on Andrew. Then we brought on Sam as our mindset coach. Now we brought on Greg Johnson, who's a year and a half in the program, down 42 pounds of fat, had torn his quad, right?
Yeah.
He applied to work with us. He had just torn his quad. He's like, yeah, I want to do this. And so I think the thing I want to say here is, if you're trying to do fat loss on your own, it can be a slippery, frustrating slope, and a lot of time gets wasted. And a lot of our clients they have more money than they have time.
Yeah.
And they would trade money for time if they could get the result. And so there tends to be a lot of value. A lot of programs on the market are do-it-yourself weight loss programs. Some of them are group coaching because that's profitable and you can scale a group coaching. What we have found the highest success rate with is one-on-one coaching with analysis, feedback. And, I do a lot of the onboarding, and then I hand clients off to you guys. Jeffrey, what's your experience on why you think we've arrived at one-on-one coaching? Like, you use the word macros, calories, and you're interacting with guys every single day on a one-on-one basis. So it's this private, intimate, kind of high-end experience for each one of these guys. Like, why do you think one-on-one coaching helps these guys get results over do-it-yourself or group coaching?
Well, I think a lot of our guys are high functioning, low energy professionals, meaning they're very successful in what they do, but they won't prioritize the physical and health aspect of their lives. So they want someone to tell them what to do. If we could map out every single meal, every single movement that they did in the program, most of these guys would appreciate that, because they can execute. These guys are great at executing whatever needs to be executed or implemented. And that's how they've built their businesses and their careers and their wealth along with that. And so the one, it allows them a safe place to ask questions that they might think are dumb. They're not in a group place. And it gives them a little humility because they can ask those questions to someone that they know most likely knows the answer of what they're going to ask. And they can relinquish that subject matter expert personality that a lot of guys have off to somebody else and take that direction. So that is very important because a lot of these guys will not perform in a group when they have to ask questions. And when it comes to vanity, the way their bodies look, the way their clothes fit, talking about different health issues, all that you and I have talked a myriad of ancillary health issues that happen, when you're overweight and how your body responds to different things. These guys don't want to talk about that in a group, so they don't. And when they're on their own, they don't have a resource. They'll rely on the internet. And the internet can give you any answer you want. And then you invest in that information and it doesn't work because there's no one there holding you accountable. I've been the fittest, strongest, healthiest in my life when I've had a coach, coaching me through triathlons, coaching me through powerlifting, strength training. Anytime I had a coach, I was better at what I was doing than I ever would have been on my own. Could I achieve most of that on my own? Probably, but not as good and not as safely either. When you're on your own, I think guys tend to, you take high risk options, to get quick results. I'm gonna water fast for 5 days because I know I'll lose. And guys do that, but that's a different mindset. That's a wrestling prep. That's a boxing prep. That's a bodybuilding competition prep. You can lose the weight, but you make yourself sick at the same time. And guys don't understand it. And then when they do get sick from the drastic measures, they quit what they're doing. A coach is imperative to help you toe the line so that when they see you faltering, they can rein you back in and say, all right, we had a bad day. You told me about it. You ate the pizza, you ate the cake, you ate the cookie, whatever you did. You went off the wagon for 24 hours. Now we're back on the path. And let's erase what you just did yesterday and get you focused again. Without that, none of the guys that we've had success with, 50% of them would have been successful on their own. The rest of them would have failed along the way.
Yeah. I loved what you said about the value of coaching, and that resonates because a lot of our audience has a CPA. Some of these guys have a business coach. We have one client who spends $150,000 a year on a business coach because that business coach has helped him 10x his revenue and had this huge effect. So and a lot of our guys work with attorneys. So they're used to a team of advisors in which they get good information from.
Yeah.
So this is not a foreign concept, but in another respect, it is because they've never done it before with their nutrition. And just as a quick side note, one of the things I really pride myself on is paying you coaches really well. I love that because you guys are all full-time career dads, and time is scarce for you, but each of us has found a way to make this work. And what's cool is we got Andrew, who's, let's call him 30, family man, powerlifting background, nursing background, a man of faith, full-time career. You got me, let's call me 40 at the time of this recording, same profile, full-time career, found a way to make this work. We got you, let's call you 50, same thing, like men of faith, career, family, all this stuff. And then we got Greg, let's call him 60. So we got every decade covered.
Yeah.
And it's cool because we're all, in a way, that avatar person in which we're trying to help. Like, time is scarce, want to succeed with a career. You have a side hustle, actually 2 side hustles if you count this.
Right.
Grandkids, and you're fitting health and nutrition into your life around the clock, year round. And so what I'm trying to say here is I feel like the quality of having a very high quality coach who gets the life you're living because
Right.
he is you also tends to drive the value up a lot with the coaching program. It gives better context.
It's very important that you find someone that understands your language. It's very easy to go out and find some very high-end coaches. I can go out and find a bodybuilding coach, that can put me through workouts, that can build my nutrition for me, but that's not my lifestyle. At 50 years old, that's not how I want to live my life. I don't want a bodybuilder lifestyle anymore. At 25, that works for me. At 51, it doesn't work for me. So to have a coach that understands the language I'm speaking at 51 years old is very, very important. That goes back to the one-on-one and in creating that safe space for these guys to be able to share, because I understand how busy every one of my clients are. Our international client, how difficult it is to pin him down, to talk to him, though I know he's working the program to a certain degree, without a lot of contact. But, understanding I'm not going to, go tough love on a guy like that, because I know how busy he is. You're dealing with time zones and busy, and he's in a business professional. We understand that, and they understand, this isn't all we do is sit at our desk and coach.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Let's close by just two last topics here. Community, I want to return to that, and then accountability and some of the importance of that. So I loved what you said. We feel like we've built community in a pretty relevant way, because a lot of our clients, another Facebook group would drive them crazy and provides them no value.
Yeah.
We've instead built more like what I would call a video walkie-talkie community. And the value of it, even today, our phones have gone off and posts have been made and questions have been asked about, hey, I'm having to pee every hour because I'm drinking a lot more water. How do I handle that? And there were discussions about July 4th, and you had a weighted vest over a holiday weekend and posting that stuff. And to me, and that was one of the main reasons why Greg became a part of our community a year and a half ago, was just surrounding yourself with other like-minded guys who are trying to hack this journey and have the same obstacles and family demands and stress eating late at night and navigating a shoulder injury, all these problems that come with aging. Having 15 or 20 other guys following an identical program and on an ongoing basis, when it's convenient for you driving down the road, being able to watch that stuff and even ask a question or share something. We've seen it's not why people join the program, but I do feel it's a big reason why people stay with us so long. And we have people like Lyle Updike and Paul Shuck and Ron Paul, who are they're 12-month success stories.
Yes. And they share information that a lot of guys would gather over 5 years, because they dove into the program and created a lifestyle for themselves. I mean, each one of them can be an hour-long podcast on how they've created their own lifestyle around this program. We were just a springboard for them to jump. Nobody even knows about the community, really. You talk about it at the beginning when you're doing your sales calls, but they don't truly understand it till they're part of the Marco Polo, the video community that we have, and how people are connected that way. And I think that's the secret, the Easter egg that's hidden in there. They get into the program and then it's like, oh, this is cool. I didn't even know that this was part of it. And a lot of guys get engaged. Some guys don't. Some guys don't like to be engaged that way. That's okay. But yeah, I just think it's very important. I think it's why a lot of guys stay. And, we've got guys that are through the program that we still communicate with, that still ask questions, that still send texts, still send a Marco Polo or something and ask a question, or share something cool, another milestone that they've achieved, because now they're proud of reaching these goals, and they're happy to share that with us because of the community.
Yep.
And at that point, we're no longer talking about weight or body fat. We're discussing lifestyle at that point.
Yes. And so I think the key point here is, if you've tried weight loss in the past and have had a hard time building a lifestyle, it could be that you've tried to attack this on your own for a long, long time. And we've talked about coaching, the right approach, all these different layers, but having a community of some kind, most people recognize the value of that.
Absolutely. And by the time they're asking the question, should I be in this program? They know they should be in the program because they're seeking something. They know something's wrong. Something's off kilter in their life. And there's a difference between being prepared and being ready. And I've talked to a lot of guys that say, I can't go to the gym yet because I got to lose weight first before I go to the gym. Okay. That doesn't even make sense. Everybody's a little bit more prepared than they think. You just have to start. And we go back to the beginning of this podcast. Why do people not succeed? They never start to begin with. And so they're not successful. It's excuse after excuse after excuse. Other guys succeed, and then 12 months down the road, they're still in the same spot, and they're feeling like, I don't know why I couldn't make progress. Well, you never really started at what you needed to do, even though you knew you needed to 12 months ago, and now you've wasted that year.
Yep. Well
and
said.
Because of that unhealthiness, what have you done to your lifespan? That wasted year, what was the cost of that wasted year in your longevity? Maybe nothing. I don't know. But most likely you've done something to probably shorten your lifespan by not attending to health issues. The basic one, a lot of issues and health problems all tie back to having too much fat on your body. Not overweight, because weight is relative. Being over fat is the problem. Yeah. And just people want to ignore that, and they never start the journey.
Yeah. Let's close with probably the most asked for feature of the program, and probably is the most expensive for us to administer and the most valuable, and it's accountability. That is what people really feel like they're missing with everything that they've tried in the past. And what I tell people about this is, like, when you commit to check in with someone weekly with a goal that you have, your likelihood of success skyrockets.
Mm-hmm.
What we found is, I've been a part of other coaching programs, for my business, and they wanted 1 hour with me a week, and it was a Zoom call, and it was pretty time consuming. And we don't do that at all, because we've learned that our clients aren't looking to spend a whole lot more time with us.
Right.
To get this outcome as efficiently as possible, and that doesn't hurt our feelings.
No.
And so what we found is what we feel is a better way to coach and provide accountability. And it's basically shared nutritional data. And then each coach proactively pulls that up weekly and sends a little video feedback to each client one-on-one of all the great things that they're doing with their nutrition. And we have them log their weight and their body fat percentage, and the coach is watching it and giving feedback. And that takes maybe 5 minutes a week instead of an hour a week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite simple, but I would say that's the number one needle mover in our program is that component of accountability.
Mm-hmm.
What's been your experience with that?
No, absolutely. And I found that the guys don't necessarily want you to tell them what they want to hear all the time. They need to hear the things they don't want to hear too. And this week was a good example of, a poor check-in ratio this week. People got busy or whatever the reason was. And I went in to check everything. People hadn't filled out their trackers on time, that kind of stuff. And so basically I told them, I'm not doing anything until I see your numbers. If you guys want feedback this week, if you guys want to make some progress this week, you got to get in there and fill out the data, because without the data, I can't help you. And it sounds a little harsh, but then suddenly, the Marco Polos are lighting up, the tracker sheets are getting filled out, and, they recognize the need to be able to do that, and they'll be fine going forward. And every once in a while, somebody will slip up or forget or get busy. What I found too, a lot of guys, when they get sick or hurt, there's a reason not to fill things out, because they stop tracking a little bit or they don't weigh. And that's the perfect time to be in there making notes and letting me know what's going on. So, the accountability, I think every guy has appreciated that, except maybe I can think of one guy maybe didn't really appreciate the accountability of it, and he's not in the program anymore. It just didn't work for him. It wasn't a fit. So, and that's okay too. Everybody's got to, again, the program has to be sustainable, and you also have to enjoy yourself while you're in the program here. If you're not going to enjoy the process of our community and our interaction and how we have this set up to do the one-on-one stuff, it's not going to work for you. So I think you and I and Greg and Andrew and Sam work very hard at creating that environment that people want to participate and be part of.
You're right. So let me recap what we've talked about. And while I do so, you think of maybe a closing thought, and then I'll do so, and we'll put another episode in the books here. So tonight, this was all about what I would call 6 reasons why a person isn't experiencing long-term fat loss as a sustainable lifestyle. And by the way, we feel like each one of these is addressed within our program. So we talked about the importance of not giving in to fad diets and raising the bar for ourselves, and quit looking for the easy way out. Any program that's going to be a sustainable lifestyle requires work and discipline, but it can be reasonable. We talked about the importance of around the clock health and fitness, and not being a victim of circumstance, and still being disciplined on vacation and corporate travel. We talked about the importance of reasonable workouts, and not going after hour and a half, 2-hour long workouts each day to make up for a bad diet, because that tends to not be sustainable for our clients.
Right.
The value of coaching with a coach who has been there before, has experienced transformation, and is a working professional dad, can really shortcut this process and provide insights that someone wouldn't have otherwise. The value of community and being around like-minded people for long-term motivation and habit transformation. And then finally, accountability. And when we measure things, performance improves. So anything you would add to this overall discussion, and then I'll wrap us up.
I'll just go back and touch on a point that I made, is that everybody is more prepared than they think they are to get through this program and this journey. And even if you don't feel ready, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Being ready is less important than being prepared to make the changes that you need to and build the habits to build a sustainable lifestyle and make progress. The six-pack dad, tribe, the six-pack aspect of that is you define that for yourself. What is your six-pack? There's a traditional six-pack, but your six-pack might be just losing 25 pounds so that you feel better and you feel healthier. That's the goal we want to get you to.
Yes. Yeah.
So
and
just start.
Just
start.
And I'll close with this along similar lines. I love that you said, you used the word earlier, consider the costs. And that's what I invite our listeners to do. By the way, if we've said something, if you're looking for not just a piece of the solution, but a total transformational package and solution to fix every piece of this, check out our website and book a call with me. Go to the sixpackdadtribe.com, and you'll see the little masterclass, and then my calendar and things, but consider the costs 6 months or a year from now. If you have 20 or 50 or 100 pounds to lose and you're in the exact same spot as you are today, and think about, what will I miss out on? What are those opportunity costs of me not getting this right? Think about your career, your family, your health, your kids, what's being missed. But another way to look at this, and I love visiting with, this is one of the first questions I ask when I get someone on the phone now, is let's fast forward a year. And let's say you hit 10% body fat or thereabouts, whatever your goal is, and there were no fads, it was reasonable, it's family friendly. Let's just pretend, okay? How would you celebrate that accomplishment? And it's really fun to hear answers, because people start reminding themselves of how important their health is and how many aspects of their life this touches. And so if we've struck a nerve, if you want to have that call, and on the call, there's no buying decision. I run these very low key, kind of like this podcast. It's just me and Jeffrey talking. Go to the sixpackdadtribe.com, and we'd certainly love to visit with you. So Jeffrey, thanks again for making time tonight. There's a lot of places you could be, and we're grateful for the comments you've had and your perspective and your own transformation.
I just think it's an important topic. These guys that aren't in the tribe yet need to hear this information, and help transform more lives. That's what it's all about. So this is always fun to me.
All right. Well, guys, that's another episode in the books. Again, go to the sixpackdadtribe.com, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Take care.
See ya.